Guys, Booktube is a wonderful, wonderful place full of joy and laughter and memories and friendship and delight. But it's also a very dark place, and I want to talk to you about that today. What's good, Booktube? Thanks for hanging out with me today. My name is Theo, Rekindled Reader, and today, as the title and thumbnail probably suggest, if I did my job right, today I want to talk a little bit about the pros and cons of Booktube. I love Booktube. I've watched a ton of Booktube. I love making book videos, but there are pros and cons, and today I want to talk about both sides. Are you looking to start a Booktube channel? Do you wonder what it's like to do Booktube? Have you done it? Have you gotten frustrated with it in the past? Have you had your ups and downs like all of us do? Let's go ahead and talk about that today. The first thing that is really tough about Booktube is there's this culture, and if you think it doesn't exist, you are lying. You are lying to everyone, because there's a culture of consumption and spending and book hauls and having books behind you to display and having wonderful hardcovers to show off and beautiful special editions and subscription boxes and unboxing stuff to do. And there's this feeling of inadequacy if you don't participate in that, or if you don't have the money to spend on that, or if you don't have the ability to have these books or talk about them or whatever, that somehow you're not able to do Booktube, or you're not as good of a Booktuber, or your opinions have less clout or less weight because you don't have a physical copy to read. All of that is crap. It really doesn't matter. And I've gone through waves where I've done a ton of hauls and then I slow down on the book hauls. And let me talk about a pro real quick on the Booktube side. Being on Booktube, you get a lot of generous people that are subscribers, that are friends of yours, that send you books. You get authors sending you books. You get publishers sending you books. And that is incredible. That is like, what a privilege that is. But there definitely is this overarching culture of needing to consume, needing to haul books, needing to continuously buy these new releases to show off. And do I like seeing all that stuff? Of course I do. I'm just like you. I love seeing unboxing videos. I love seeing the beautiful, illustrated editions, special leather bounds, special subscription box editions and stuff. And I love seeing book hauls and seeing people touch the books and show them off and show the covers and talk about them. And I get to see what they look like right in front of somebody. I love that too. I love that. But it's a really difficult thing. And I've heard from a lot of people trying to start Booktube or starting smaller channels or whatever, that it's a little bit intimidating to have to acquire all these books. I actually talked to one person that didn't want to start a Booktube channel until they acquired enough popular books to fill up a shelf behind her. And I felt that that was ridiculous. So I tried to talk her out of it and say, look, at the end of the day, what matters is your opinion, your passion for the books, what you think about them, and your ability to articulate and convey your thoughts and have a meaningful discussion with people on this side of the lens or elsewhere. That's really what it comes down to. So there is this weird culture of consumption, of spending, of book hauls, and all that shit. Don't let that stop you from making a Booktube channel, and don't let that discourage you if you already have a Booktube channel or whatever and you can't keep up with all the books. I keep pointing behind me as if I'm one that has all the nice, I don't. I have zero space. That's the other thing. We run out of space with Booktube and getting all these books. I've gotten to a point where I'm reading a lot more on ebooks, and I'm being very discerning with the physicals, the hardcovers, the special editions. I'm being very discerning on the books that I buy and how I fill up my shelves, because I only got so much space. So don't let that dissuade you. Don't give in to that culture. And if you like buying books and you like the book hauls and you have the money to do that, go for it. All the power to you. I'm sometimes in that position, sometimes I'm not. But yeah, don't let that dissuade you. Don't let that make you feel terrible. Just brush that aside, because it's, at the end of the day, all about the books. Another really dark part about Booktube that people sort of understand and people sort of acknowledge, but it's not really talked about and it gets kind of ignored a little bit, is the amount of time that it takes. Doing these videos takes a lot of time. You have to set up everything. You have to make sure you're not weird and have stuff on your face. You have to have stuff in the background. You have to have your lights turned on, your computer turned on, your microphone turned on. You have to be recording. Your SD card has to be in. You have to think about a title and a topic and a thumbnail and all this shit. It's a lot of work and it takes a lot of time. This is coming off as a bit of a rant video. I promise that wasn't the intention. I kind of just wanted to talk a little bit about it. People ask me a lot about how it's like running a small Booktube channel channel, and this is my opportunity to tell you. So one thing people don't talk about a lot is how much time goes into this. And you know what's crazy is when you start a Booktube channel, you would be surprised, maybe not so surprised actually, but you would probably be surprised at how much less time you have to actually read the books that you so passionately want to talk about. Because like I said, all the stuff that I just mentioned, the title, the thumbnail, the blah, 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 all that stuff, not to mention finding time to sit down and record and then edit your video depending on how much time and effort you put into that stuff, that takes a lot of time. And so you end up, it's this funny cycle of Booktube is wonderful because it makes you want to read more and it makes you want to be part of the discussion and part of the community. But by being so, you have way less time to read. And it's funny because I did take a bit of a hiatus, and what I found was I had so much more time to read, but I wasn't reading more because there wasn't anyone to talk to. I mean, I was still lurking in the comments, lurking in the community, being part of it that way, but I wasn't uploading videos for a while. I wasn't participating as much in the buddy reads and the discussions and that kind of thing. So while I had a lot more time to read, I wasn't taking advantage of it because it doesn't give me that spark that Booktube does. So when I'm on Booktube, I have much less time to read for leisure, right? But I want to read more, and I find that I actually squeeze in more reading time, deliberate, disciplined reading time when I'm on Booktube, even though my schedule is a little bit more constricted. Another kind of double-edged sword of Booktube is the social aspect. The social aspect because, you know, on one hand, you have this brand new, incredible online community of like-minded friends that you interact with over the internet, and you're trying to balance that with your in-person, in real life friends and family. And sometimes those two things conflict. On one hand, it's really cool to make all these friends and discuss things online and feel part of a community, but it's a little bit disheartening too, because, you know, I would love nothing more than to sit down and have a coffee with some of you, or I have a really good core group of friends that I've met over Booktube that I would pay to travel and meet up with, but it's not always possible, right? And so it kind of sucks because you have these really like-minded people that become your almost online family that you can't really see. So it kind of breaks your heart sometimes, you know? On the other hand, it's better to have that community support group and, you know, be part of these discords and all these things than to not have that, of course. And as long as you can find a balance between the online stuff and your in real life, you know, personal relationships and stuff, then it's all cool. But I've seen people favor one to the detriment of the other. And it's actually a really hard balance to strike. So I can appreciate that. The other thing too is there's all these competing social platforms. When I say social, you know, stuff being a double-edged sword, I also mean the social media part of it. There's YouTube, there's, I should say, Booktube, there's Book Talk, there's Bookstagram, there's all this stuff. It's really hard to compete on that stuff, get noticed on that stuff. You never really know which one to prioritize. You might be really good at one and terrible on some others. Those things can get a little overwhelming. Overall, the social part of Booktube has been a net enriching experience. Absolutely. For me, if you were to ask me the best part of Booktube, it's the community, it's the people, it's the subscribers, it's the authors, it's the other content creators, all these interactions, the long form discussions. That's what I enjoy the most about. Reading is very much a solitary activity, and sometimes that's really nice. I love reading by myself. I love flying solo. I'm an only child. I thrive alone. It's completely fine. But every now and then you want to talk about what you're reading. You want to share your passion with people. That's why in real life, my family, my friends, my wife, they all mean the world to me because I get to share that about everything else. And online, I get to share that with you guys. And so it's a double-edged sword. It's awesome, but it's also a little tough that we can't all hang out in real life. You know, as long as there's a balance that you can strike between your online community of friends and your in real life stuff, it comes back to the time thing. It gets a little bit, you know, it can stretch your time one way or another, but overall, it's a super enriching experience. And the social aspect, while difficult to balance, like I said, it's the best part of it. One huge part of Booktube that is sort of a negative experience from a lot of content creators is the pressure and the expectations. What do I mean by that? I mean, there are expectations that you read a certain amount of books every month, right? That you read the books you say you're going to read, that if an author sends you a book, you'll read it and review it. If you read a book by an author that you know, or even if you don't, there's a bit of pressure and expectation to give a positive review or even a very delicate negative review. It may guide how you word that review or what you say, or even if you talk about it on your channel. There's also the expectation of maybe having the right opinion or not having the wrong opinion, not offending certain people, not offending the wrong fandom. There's also, comparing yourself to other channels, other content creators, other readers. If you're an author, comparing yourself to other writers, how fast they're writing, the amount of reviews that they have. Like, comparison is the thief of joy. And when you put yourself out on a platform like this, it can get a little bit tricky because you have no choice but to see other peers, right? In your same cohort, same group, same niche of this market, call it. You start to compare yourself, and that's not always healthy. So my advice to that is something that I did myself. I honestly just stopped comparing to other people. Not that I was doing that a whole lot. It wasn't really guiding what I was doing on this channel one way or another. But I definitely, when I took a little bit of a step back from Booktube for quite a while, to be honest, I just, I focused on myself, I focused on reading, and I didn't go away from Booktube. I just went towards other things. I was focusing my time with family, other hobbies, friends. Life kind of got in the way, got busy. And when I organically came back to Booktube, I just kept that momentum of not really worrying about Booktube as much, not really, putting myself in those peer groups and comparison groups and stuff, and just kind of doing what I felt like. I was mood reading, like I still am. I'm reading what I want, when I want, not really worrying about how much I'm reading, what I'm reading, who I'm going to offend or not offend, or the things that I should say about whatever book. I'm just I'm going to kind of do whatever I feel like, as long as I'm polite on the channel and respectful and always an adult. And that's kind of it. But my tastes are my tastes, and I'm not going to apologize for them. And I would advise you guys to just do your own thing. You should do it. You should be doing this. You should be writing, reading, reviewing, Booktube, whatever it is that you're doing. You should be doing it for the love of it, the joy of it, the passion, and the fulfillment that you get. The last point is kind of in the same vein, where it's about being overwhelmed. It's easy to get overwhelmed with having to come up with ideas for videos, ideas for reviews, figuring out what books you're going to read, what groups you're going to attend, what buddy groups, buddy reads you're going to join, readathons, all that kind of stuff. It's easy to get overwhelmed when, like I said, comparing yourself to other people, even just thinking about how many books you have on your shelf that you might not get to in the next little while. I just did a video where I did some priority series that I want to get to, and it kind of stressed me out when I was looking at all these books, all these series that I desperately want to get to. And I try and I do the math and I chop it up by day, and I go, okay, here's how much time I can read. Like, how long is it going to take me to get through these books? And I can only read what I can read. And to be honest with you, Booktube, like I said, it has that way of making you feel a little bit guilty if you're not reading as much, if you're not reviewing as much, if you're not participating enough, watching other people's content, keeping up with people, commenting, and all this kind of stuff. You just have to step back sometimes and take a breath and not get overwhelmed. And if, like I said, if you want to do Booktube, or you're doing Booktube, if you're feeling overwhelmed, or if you're intimidated to start, you just have to take a step back and know that it's not that serious. It's just a hobby. Most of us are doing this as a hobby. It's not really the niche of YouTube to make it rich. There are much bigger markets in YouTube to make money. This is not really it. This is for the passion of reading, the passion of books, sharing ideas, sharing thoughts and reviews on books, recommendations and stuff like that. That's kind of why we do this. So yeah, I mean, Booktube is amazing. It's been incredible. I'm losing my voice. I'm still a little bit sick. But it's also it can be a little bit overwhelming. It can be a little bit intimidating, frustrating, and quite kind of a dark place sometimes for people when they get consumed by all this stuff. There's a couple videos that you can probably Google and find of like booktubers quitting. And I was caught up in that too. I kind of took, like I said, I took a bit of a break. And as I mentioned, it wasn't necessarily any of these things, but there was a lot of people that were taking a step away. And I think you'll see that, and it comes in waves. And I think 2020 and The people that started in the few years following that may have had a little bit of a wave that they followed and then dropped off, and that may have had a big part to play in it. But at the end of the day, I guess the point of this video is to not get intimidated, to know that, this is just for fun, just a hobby. Do what you want, enjoy yourself. Don't get consumed by the consumption aspect of it, the culture of hauling, consuming books, reading a lot, comparing your content to other people, saying the right things, reading the right books. Do what you want, be happy about it, enjoy yourself. I'm trying to enjoy myself too, and we'll catch each other on the next video.